Joanne. Welcome to the One to Another podcast. Today we're going to talk about where to find comfort when you're feeling alone in the grieving process. In all the classes I teach and all the people I talk to, the greatest challenge that they have is loneliness. There's this page I have that says face your feelings, and one of them is loneliness. And regularly, if I'm in a group of 30, 35 people and I'm having them face their feelings, I would say 25 out of 30 circle loneliness. And so it is true that there's a place in our hearts when we've lost someone, whether we've gone through a divorce, we've lost a child, whether we've lost a mate, whether we've lost a job, whether we've lost a friend. There's that time in our lives where we feel really alone. And so where do you find comfort? And so I thought that maybe we'd just talk about that for a few minutes. Loneliness is a byproduct of changing circumstances. Change is inevitable, but growth is optional. And so if we're going to grow in the middle of loneliness, what in the world are we going to do? But we have to understand that it is a product of changing circumstances. Life changes. And how are we going to walk through the change? Sometimes loneliness is a result of our own failure to cultivate relationships. Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, there's a time and a place when we have to say to ourselves, I need to reach out. And some of us don't want to do that. While for most of us, loneliness doesn't last forever, a certain degree of loneliness is a part of the human condition. I've said many, many times, loneliness is love to give and no one to give it to. While identifying why we're lonely doesn't make loneliness go away, but it does make it easier to shift our focus from the problem to maybe a solution. Only you know what works best for you, but maybe there's some ideas that I could give you that would help you begin to develop some people in your life, some things to do that would help you with that whole thing of loneliness. And so be good to yourself. When you're in a good place emotionally, jot down 3 things you could do for yourself when you find yourself feeling lonely and out of ideas. Maybe you could put them into 2 categories, expensive and inexpensive, or things I do and things I don't do, or things I'd like to do. And it's interesting. I was with a group of people recently, and I asked them to write down things you do and things you don't do. I found it interesting for people what they want to do or they do and what they don't do. In my list, I said things I do is I enjoy flowers, working in the garden, and things I do is I love to write notes of encouragement to people, and things I don't do is I don't go to garage sales. I don't paint my fingernails or my toenails, and I don't like to be around people who are real negative. I like to be around people that are positive. I mean, it's just basic things. But when we think about be good to yourself, what is something you could do that is not expensive? Well, you can go for a walk, or you can just turn on a TV program that you've been wanting to watch, or a movie. Or maybe it's just going over and talking to a neighbor. Those things aren't very expensive. But when it comes to finding things that are expensive and you want to do, maybe you want to go on a cruise. Maybe that's a long-term goal and you'd like to really go on a cruise, or you want to go on a special vacation. Or maybe you just want to invest in a new wardrobe. You're tired of all the clothes you've had for 30 years, and maybe you want to invest in a wardrobe. Or maybe another expensive thing would be you want to just go across the United States and go to New York and see some theater and go to some great musical. Something that's expensive, but if you save for it, maybe you want to do it. I just think it's important for us to be creative, because we get into the place where we think, I can't afford this. Okay, you can't afford this, but can you do this? So let's look at both of them. And might be amazed what happens when you start to write things down and think this is something that could break this loneliness. And I think it's intentional about meeting new people. Most people don't want to go to a party where they don't know anybody. They don't want to go to a play at a church because they don't know anybody. Or maybe they just don't want to go to a new class because they don't know anybody. Well, I think you have to say to yourself, it's hard reaching out and taking a risk, but I can do it. And so we have to decide if we're going to be in a place to reach out and meet somebody new. Maybe it's going to a gym. You never know who you're going to meet there. I have a really good friend, and he's just such a wonderful guy. And I've always tried to find him a date, but never is the right kind of person. Anyway, he goes to a gym, and he's met this wonderful person. And I just think they developed a fun friendship. And it was just because he started going to a gym. So you never know where you go someplace, you might just meet somebody new. And then I think it's important to ask for what you need. Maybe, oops, you know what? I want to talk a little bit else about trying something this summer. Sorry, but I thought I had a few more ideas about trying something this summer. Maybe you could find a friend who'd be willing to go on a brisk but daily walk with you. Just getting outside helps in stress reduction. Maybe joining a health club or take up swimming, enroll in golf lessons, square dance classes, or ballroom dancing at a local community college. One of my friends said recently that she wanted to learn how to ride a motorcycle, so she took a motorcycle class. Now that's quite interesting. And she said, she went to every class, then she had to take a test, and she failed the test, but she didn't care. She had learned a lot of things about a motorcycle that she never knew, and at least gave her the idea that maybe someday, if she went back again and took the class over, maybe she could pass it. But she said it was just fun to learn. So maybe try an activity not associated with members of your loved one. The way you're making new memories, not just remembering the good old days, what it used to be. So trying something totally different from where you were with the person you loved or the person you've lost. How about work with your hands in the soil, watering and pulling weeds? It's great exercise and gives you a sense of accomplishment when you look at your yard. Just begin trying something new. Whatever it is, just take one step in that direction, and you'll find somebody or something that's going to catch your attention, and I think you'll break that spot of loneliness. So ask for what you need. Suggested statements. I don't need you to fix my life. I'm taking steps in that direction. I just need you to listen. I'm lonely and I need an understanding ear. If you want to do something besides listen, call me up and ask me to go to a movie sometime. I'm going through a really hard time right now. I know your life is busy, but I need to hear from you once in a while. I have a friend right now that we like to go to the movies. Now, it's not easy for me to get away and go to a movie, but I've been able to arrange someone to come and stay with Ron so I can go to the movies. And my friend knows that one of the things that I do every day, is drive. I drive to work, I drive to the store, I drive everywhere because Ron can't drive anymore. And so when my friend invites me to go to a movie, you know what? She comes to my house, she picks me up, she takes me to the movies, she brings me back home, and it's just a gift that I don't have to drive. And so we don't think about sometimes the little things that can make a difference in helping us say things like, I'm going through a hard time right now. I know your life is busy, but I need to hear from you more for a while. If we have the courage to say that, you might be surprised what happens. Well, I think it's important to keep loneliness in perspective. You have a resilient human spirit, and you will go through this time in your life. You've survived other crises. You have something to contribute to others. Coming to grips with loneliness helps in a lifelong process. There's not always a quick fix. Sometimes loneliness helps tell us about our life. Our wilderness experience can turn into growth opportunities. God may use this time to draw us close to Him. Psalms 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." So wherever you are in your journey towards healing and towards accepting the circumstances, I really hope that you can sense and know there are things that you can do to break that silence of loneliness and find some healing and recovery. So, you know what? I'm just going to ask you, and I hope you will take one more step towards healing.